Can complex living content be standardized in an open science infrastructure? Thank you for the opportunity to talk about my experience processing digital gray literature at the National Library of Medicine and permitting me to consider its challenges and rewards by way of a question to the larger community. Can we find flexible, adaptable standards by which we can fruitfully exchange our gray literature and all its diversity and mutating variants in an evolving ecosystem? For good or bad, I feel I might be trying to step in the shoes of fellow anthropologist Margaret Mead, a founding mother of cybernetics, the science of communications and automatic systems, and both machines and living things, or in my mind, in many ways, the precursor to data science and artificial intelligence. In 1967, Mead presented to the cybernetics community a proposal that it consider itself a cybernetic body and apply cybernetic insights and techniques to its own organization and operation. She concluded her cybernetics of cybernetics speech, or perhaps in today's terms, meta talk, with a story of her presentation of similar ideas to a meeting of the Society for General Systems Theory, perhaps as a challenge and opportunity of just how cranky a new idea seems unless it is advanced by a well-known person. Both talks, so the historians say, went by unnoticed by attendees. We will see where my narrated journey might lead. First, briefly, my experience processing digital gray literature is as the lead of the NCBI bookshelf repository, sister to PubMed Central, with most of its bibliographic metadata indexed both in PubMed and the NLM catalog. It is also one extension of NLM's collection and is thus governed by its collection and preservation policies. Developed and managed by the National Center for Biotechnology Information, it is built on top of the PubMed Central architecture and is integrated with NCBI's Entree databases, such as GenBank, PubChem, and the Genetic Testing Registry. More than half of the content in the bookshelf repository is complex gray literature, according to the NLM's collection development guidelines, crossing through several peer-reviewed formats such as guidelines, systematic reviews, technical reports, and even web content produced by national and international agencies that have no commercial or official publishing arm. I'd like to use COVID-19 guidelines and reviews, complex content that often include as supporting annexes, large evidence tables, and forest plots, as my case study of challenges and rewards processing gray literature. As I think everyone agrees, this pandemic has been historic, something historians will be studying for centuries to come. I suspect one theme of future histories will be the macroevolutionary shifts in scientific communication and translation, which accelerated international collaboration across sectors, and whereby it was recognized by all in the ecosystem, both how important it is to collect and preserve rich, diverse, and extensive data sets, such as the Core-19 Open Research Dataset, which includes some bookshelf gray literature among many PMC articles and preprints, and how important artificial intelligence tools are to ensure the quality of such large data sets for computation of the evidence to which it systematically may point for clinical and public health practice. In effect, scientific communication became a set in software development, agile, and an iterative living process, no longer as much of an assembly line of production workflows than a branching complex or network centered on running scripted, adaptive programs, cycling in regular iterations over aggregated data sets, spurred by new discovery, and hand with traditional controlled survey and review, to execute on demand the latest, up-to-the-moment synthesized knowledge and new formats for visualization, understanding, and practice. What this meant for my team was that some of the main sources of systematic reviews and guidelines deposited to Bookshelf became living overnight. No longer were the developers of this content working with update cycles of 2 to 5 years, with each new guideline or review a new document, with its own stable issue number. Now, these guidelines and reviews were being updated monthly, weekly. Our usual means of digitizing or converting and processing this content to add to our repository as machine-readable, structured, full text were rendered costly and untenable, although we adapted as fast as we could by creating structured metadata for downloadable formats, replaced as often as they were updated. But I'd like to point out that the goals of these new formats, as defined in the literature: 1, they are updated in real time, highlighted in yellow on the slide. 2, updates include relevant new evidence, highlighted in green. 3, they seek to form evidence-based recommendations for clinical and public health practice, highlighted in blue. 4, important to my question, this relies on flexible models and standards, highlighted in gray. To 5, generate scientific knowledge about events that can be exchanged in ways that are meaningful and understandable, highlighted in pink. All good goals from my point of view. But how do we reach these emerging common goals? I would suggest each challenge my team at Bookshelf, our colleagues at NLM, and our various submitters and collaborators faced offers its own reward in finding a systematically applied solution. The largest barrier to making these living documents as machine-readable and widely interoperable as possible is lack of a common standard for their formatting and exchange that meets the different requirements of the various target discovery and preservation databases and their data models. Agreeing on a common format and using it consistently would greatly facilitate rapid scientific exchange and collaboration, and it would provide the tissue, if you will, to create a connected, open infrastructure modeled on shared, fair data elements, by which this communication can flourish successfully. Yet, that relies on the reliability of the quality of the data being exchanged, and we found that varied, causing delays in making some of our complexly structured content immediately accessible by humans or machines. We are working to ensure the integrity of literature in our database through various automated scripts to identify and clean up errors as soon in the process as possible. Were we to meet all these challenges, the nature of rapid updates to living documents would not be as daunting for my team, because we'd have content authored and updated in formats we could immediately check for quality and ingest for preservation. One of the goals of our current work to develop an open source, modular content management system our participants can use to add and update their living documents, such as reviews and guidelines. Lastly, we are trying to support in this new content management system the means of versioning iterations of living content, both by content type and version number, so that this history can be preserved and possibly visualized in the future through automated comparisons of iterations and translations through automated linking of persistent identifiers of data and literature through their entire life cycle in an open science system. These are all things Bookshelf is trying to do better within our own scope as we study our recent challenges collecting and processing the gray literature we do, and we invite those in the community listening to seek common standards to reap shared rewards in our continued collaborations. Thank you.